let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Mike, you brought a toy.
Yes, I did.
And I mean like an actual like nerd toy.
And it's not really just a toy. It's also like, for me, it's a time machine.
Can you tell first before
it's made by a company that only makes business machines. It's in their name.
What was interesting is that this is a company that actually didn't exist for 20 years in like a real corporation style. And only just last year, I believe, became a company again. So
this wait. When did you first touched this product? How old were you?
When I first put my hands on a Commodore 64, I was 13 years old. So we're talking 40 years ago.
It came out when I was not born.
Yeah, it came out in 1982 or 83.
82.
I believe the VIC-20 came out beforehand, but I always thought the VIC-20 came out first and was in 1983. So I found out it was 1982. And actually, the VIC-20 was manufactured in Japan and sold in Japan first as the VIC-1001.
I don't even know what a VIC-20 is, but it's Commodore Business Machine, 1980.
Right. So we kind of have to go back in time a little bit to kind of explain the chronology of Commodore. It actually has connections to World War II and Auschwitz.
What?
So Jack Trammell, when he was 15 years old, he and his parents were shipped to Auschwitz. His father did not survive.
Okay.
But he and his mother did when Auschwitz fell in 1944. They emigrated to the United States, and Jack changed his name from Edek Tramelski to Jack Trammell, and enlisted in the United States Army, where he served at Fort Dix and had a talent for repairing typewriters.
Okay.
In 1952, when he left the Army, he and a buddy of his from the Army set up a typewriter repair shop, and this was in the Bronx, and he also moonlighted as a cab driver for a while.
Okay.
Then in 1955, he moved to Toronto, Canada, to form the company Commodore Business International, or Commodore International Limited. And this was in order to kind of bypass American import duties. So there's a little tariff touch for you. They had help from a financier by the name of C. Powell Morgan, who was later indicted by the Canadian government for quote, his defiance of all accepted business principles and acts of rapacious, I can't pronounce that word. Rapacious and unprincipled manipulation, and fraudulent financial statements, dummy companies, and propped up stock prices.
Okay.
So what is amazing about this is that while Trammell was suspected of having participated in these, he was never indicted and was never charged.
I want to point out that the spelling of Trammell is weird. It's Tramiel. If you guys are Googling this,
I'm not sure I'm actually even pronouncing his name right. It's just the way I've always pronounced it. Yeah. But anyways, Commodore survived, and then he had to give part of the control of Commodore to another investor, Irving Gould. Now this name's going to come up later.
Okay.
But he invested $400,000 into Commodore Business Machines. At the time, though, they were not making computers yet. They were still making typewriters, and then they started to get into the digital calculators. And
is it this?
Actually, about the same size, but could only do 4-function mathematics.
Oh God!
So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division.
So it's a quantum computer. They suck at addition and subtraction.
If you want to call it that. It was still about. They were called at the time. They're called pocket calculators, but they were much bigger than our smartphones, and they had a type of LED display that was like a red light, and you had to use these little lens type bubbles over each of the numbers to make it show up right.
What?
Yes. And in some of these calculators, I don't know if they were the Commodore one specifically, that they took that part and used them to build lightsabers for Star Wars.
Wait. There's the little red LED things. Is that the same thing as like the digital clocks from like the 80s?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Similar technology there.
It's like really like that. Like they could only like smartwatches. They only turned on when you looked at them because otherwise the battery would run down.
So if you've ever played one of the old like Mattel or Coleco like football or baseball games where you could just have like little lights on the screen.
But those are like liquid crystal displays.
No, they're
right?
not LCD. Those were LED. The
Like
early
the red ones, the glowy
the
red
really
ones.
early ones.
Ah, okay. I'm thinking something else.
So that was Commodore's really first step into computers because they were using a microprocessor made by Texas Instruments at the time.
Okay.
And then in 1975, they wound up not yet. Chuck Peddle, who's another very famous name in the computer world, designed the 6502 microprocessor for MOS Technologies. Now, at this time, Commodore and MOS are not connected yet.
Okay.
But the 6502 was able to do something that the Motorola 6800 could do, but at 1/6 the price, which was incredible at the time.
And I mean, I think the main competitor at the time was the Intel 8008 or 4004 or something.
I don't think the 8080 was
'Cause I think it was like
yet.
that was
but there was a
in, that was
4000.
in Altair, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 4004.
Yeah.
And it was like $100, and then MOS came out with this like $20 one that you could just like take out of a bowl and just buy it like
Yeah,
that.
$20,
like candy.
$25. And
Yeah.
it was
an Apple
extremely
guy,
it was
it's very
extremely
legendary.
easy to program too.
1975.
So in 1976, Commodore had set up shop in Palo Alto, and MOS released the Kim 1 trainer computer. Now, what this was is it was using a numeric keypad and that same LED display on a circuit board using a 6502, and you would directly program it using, I don't know if it was either binary or machine language calls. And Commodore saw this, and they said, we want to do that. And they knew Trammell wanted to make really low-cost computers.
Okay.
So they wound up buying MOS Technologies and moving their headquarters to Westchester, Pennsylvania. And so the chip fabrication for all of the MOS chips and the design was all done in Pennsylvania at the time. In 1977, Peddle had designed the first PET computer,
What does PET mean?
personal electronic transactor.
Like a cash register?
Well, it's a computer. It was literally a full-fledged computer running on a 6502.
Okay.
It was in a all-metal case chassis with a screen built in and weighed about like 10,000 pounds. It was so freaking heavy. And I know
1977
because
is like when all of the first microcomputers, the home computers, like the Apple II came out, the PET came out, and there was a
actually the Apple II hadn't come out.
One?
The Apple II hadn't come out yet.
Is this
the
the-
Apple
They all
One?
came out. The Apple
The Apple
One.
One, yeah,
Is
that
this
is
the PET?
that is one of the versions of the PET. I actually used that chiclet style with the built-in cassette player. There was other ones
Look
that
up
had
1977 Trio.
the other versions of the PET had a keyboard style similar to what you're going to see on the 64 here. And then when the PET series came out, they called it the PET 2001. They tried to offer it to Radio Shack. Radio Shack turned it down and then later released their TRS-80.
Okay.
All within the same year. And the Apple II came out later that year. I
Yeah,
think it was
1977 was the Apple
1977.
II, the PET, and you just
Apple
clicked away
II.
from it.
So the PET, though, was wildly successful because Trammell did something before Apple did, and that was to get computers to adopt the PET computers in their computer labs and offices. So my school, we had, I don't know, a dozen PET computers of different kinds. We had, my favorite one was that one you first showed me with the cassette tape player built in and the chiclet keyboard. It had a small blue phosphor screen. Most of them had a larger green phosphor screen and no cassette recorder. And you could get a disk drive for the PET computers, but it was a machine like this by itself and had two disk drives, and it was networked, so you could have a multiple PET computers networked into it, but it was slow, like really slow for a disk drive at the time.
I think the first computer I ever used was actually an Apple II in my elementary school in like 1986 or 7 or whatever it was.
You know, later on when I was in high school, we had an actual computer lab in one of the classrooms where we had Apple IIs, Apple II Pluses, Apple II GS. We had several Commodore 64s. We had two 128s, and I'm trying to think, we had something else there too, but I can't remember. We didn't have any Amigas yet though. So I was kind of disappointed about that. But
my school still had Apple IIs in like 93, 94.
Yeah, because you went to elementary school in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Well, the Commodore and the Apple computers really, because of the marketing that both Commodore and Apple did to get them into schools through those educator programs, really helped to propel them to the top of the personal computing market.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the fact that we were getting exposed to it as kids, parents wouldn't know what ones to buy.
Well, that's the thing is like Apple was all into the education market for decades, and then they got out of it for like the last 15 years, and now they're getting back in with the Neo. Well, they were until they ran out of chips.
Actually, they had the iMac. There's a white iMac with the CRT display.
The eMac.
The eMac.
Yeah.
And then later they had the flat iMac. I forgot what it's called. It was all white,
the G4?
plastic case.
The lampshade one.
Not
the lampshade.
The Pixar one.
It was not the Pixar style one. That was the G4. That was for home. I forget what it's called. It was. I think it was an E something as well. But the eMacs were still their how do I say, kind of blasé push in the education market to get back into it at the time.
I think the eMacs were released because like they replaced the iMac G3 with the iMac G4, but going from CRT to LCD bumped the price up by like $200 or something.
And it was too expensive.
Yeah, so they released the eMac as like, okay,
a low cost version.
And at first it was going to be only for education, but it was so popular, like everyone was like, I want to buy one, so they had to sell it for everyone as well.
So anyways, jumping back to 1978, Chuck Peddle actually quit Commodore to go work for Apple, and then quit Apple a few months later to go back to Commodore because even back then, Steve Jobs was still an asshole. A brilliant, futuristic
asshole.
And
is that coming from someone who worked with Jack Tramiel, who was also not known for being...
Tramiel was known to have a very combative personality, especially in the boardroom. And this comes into play later on when he leaves Apple, or he leaves Commodore. 1979, Commodore still releasing PET computers with BASIC. They actually released a version of the PET with 32K expandability.
32K as in
kilobytes.
Memory?
Yeah, memory. And disk support so that you could use those disk machines. And then in 1980, they released the CBM 8000, which was one of the first computers that supported 80-column displays. An 80-column doesn't sound like a lot today, but my original Commodore VIC-20 only had 22-column, and the Commodore 64 only had 40-column. And eventually, the 128 supported 80 and 40-column display by pushing a button.
Yeah, like 80 columns was like the business.
It was.
That's like when you know that you can use it for work and not just for play.
It was specifically because of, I believe, spreadsheets. And the more columns you had, the more spreadsheet data you could have on your screen. You wouldn't have to scroll back and forth. So let's go to talk about the Commodore VIC-20, which was in 1981. The VIC chip was introduced by, I don't know who it was that designed it. Maybe it was Chuck, what was his name? I forgot his name again.
Chuck Peddle?
Chuck Peddle. VIC stands for Video Interface Chip. And it was one of the lowest cost microprocessors that could produce 16 colors. And they introduced it in the Commodore VIC-20, which at the time came with 5 kilobytes of RAM. And roughly 2.5 to 3 kilobytes was used by the basic ROM. And
by the OS.
By the operating system. Which left you with about 2 to 3 kilobytes to play with. Now, just doing regular basic programming on a VIC was slow and tedious, but it was easy for a kid like me at the time. But if you really wanted to play games, you had to buy cartridges. And so you could buy a cartridge that was about the size of that, maybe a little bit narrower, and plug it in.
An 8-track. Everyone knows what those look like.
It was small, a little bit
like
smaller
an
than
8-track. I know what an 8-track is.
So, but it would plug in the back of the VIC. You plug in one of your joysticks, and it added 16 kilobytes of RAM in the game, and so you could play a really nice game.
So the cart had
Yeah,
expanded the memory.
it had a RAM expander built in so that it could play better games.
To like put these like kilobytes in perspective, I think like we used to say in the floppy disk days, like one A4 sheet of paper, like fully typed out, is 4K of data of text.
4 kilobytes.
Yeah.
Right.
So like if it says you have like 2K of memory,
It's half a
It's
sheet of paper.
half a sheet
half
of
a
paper.
fully typed sheet of paper.
And so you can see how limited BASIC was. And BASIC wasn't really efficient. It was the interpreter for the 6502's machine language. And so what you would do is you would type in these commands like print, quote, hello, quote, semicolon, and then press run or whatever. And it had to actually interpret that into dozens of machine language codes in order to execute that program within the 6502. So it was really not the most efficient way. And the best way to program computers actually was directly using assembly. So I'm going to get to that a little bit later. So VIC-20 starts off and it becomes a huge success. In the same year, they released the Commodore 64, which follows suit. They introduced a whole bunch of accessories for it. The 1541 disk drive, the dataset drive, the 300 baud modem, which...
I remember that word, baud.
I never really understood the difference between baud versus kilobits versus...
I just know that my modem before my 14.4 was something baud.
I remember I looked it up so many times. Every time I forget.
Yeah, the old analog telephone line communication, it was just a bunch of squeals and screeches and high-pitched noises. And I remember being able to tell when I worked for Radio Shack, when I could listen to a modem connecting, whether or not it was going to be a good connection on that phone line by the sounds I was hearing coming out of the modem.
I used to be able to tell the difference between like 32.2 and like 56K.
Oh, yeah.
They had like different sounds.
Yeah, there was very different
28.8.
sounds. Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, let's cancel and redial up to get to the better modem on the other side.
Oh, man, those days.
America
14.4, that was my first
America
PC modem.
Online.
Yeah, we had in 95, we got a computer with a built-in 14.4 modem.
What was it? Hayes compatible?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hayes
God.
compatible, because Hayes actually was the first company to come up with a standard that they could license across the industry. And so the Hayes chipset, I think, was what it was based on.
I remember the first time I got my first cable modem, and I was like, "Wait, how do you log in?" There's like, "It's always online." You're like, "What?"
The reason the Hayes became like the standard is it was the first what they called a smart modem.
Okay.
So we called things smart even back then. So before then, like to dial up the other thing, you took the phone handset, you dialed the number, and then you hung it up, and then the computer would take over. So the smart modem was you log into the modem and you tell the modem to do the dialing for you.
It was
like,
worse than that. It was worse than that. You had to plug in a cradle that you would take your phone off your phone and stick it on there. And it was listening.
I have used one of those before
So,
with the plastic molded phone you put in there.
It was ridiculous. So 300 baud modems, you just plug into the back and the user port and then plug it into your phone line was like a revelation.
And the crazy thing about the Hayes command set is it's still in use. Your phone is using it. Like the phone OS is using that to talk to the 5G chipset.
Really?
Yeah,
It's still everywhere. All the IoT stuff. Like I read an article on this the other week.
Internet of Things stuff.
The Internet of Things stuff. Like they've expanded the Hayes command set to basically the modem will have a whole web server built in and the whole like HTTP stack to communicate with like the internet. So like your microprocessor chip in your IoT thing just tells the modem, get this thing from the server, and they'll just reply with JSON through the modem. So they've made the Hayes command set from 50 years ago actually speak web.
So your microwave that has Wi-Fi compatibility is using Hayes.
Yeah, probably.
Why would a microwave need Wi-Fi? I don't understand.
He loves this so much.
I get a notification on my phone whenever the microwave's done.
Like we'll be having a beer. He'd be like, "Oh, Maki's microwaving something."
I have a wireless notification too. It's called a dee 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 dee. It's in my ear. Okay?
My washer dryer has Wi-Fi. I have no idea why.
My washer dryer is worse. It has NFC.
What's NFC?
It's like the tap to pay thing.
Why does it have that?
So you set up your wash program on your Android phone.
Okay.
And then you tap it to program the.
Oh god.
So if you have to be there, what's the point? It's the dumbest feature ever.
All of this crap
And it's all
is the reason I bought this. Okay. So let's continue with the history of Commodore. 1982. All right. So Commodore unleashes a whole bunch of computers in 1982. The Commodore VIC-20, the 300 baud VIC modem.
The VIC-20 color computer I'm looking at.
Yeah, it was a big deal because most computers were monochrome at the time. Apple was monochrome. The Apple II was a monochrome computer.
No, the Apple II was color. It was the first color.
No, not
it
until later.
It was color from the start. The Apple I was black and white.
I know the Apple I was black and white. I thought the Apple II was black and white because our Apple IIs were black and white as well.
The PAL Apple IIs were black and white, but the NTSC's ones were color from day one because they used the NTSC. What was it called? Quarks artifact coloring.
I thought the Apple II.
Google it. Fact check. Instant
check
fact
this
check.
Because I still remember our Apple IIs were all black and white. They had a green monochrome screen.
Yeah, I mean they could be black and white if you didn't have a color screen because color screens cost lots of money. So the school computers they didn't spring for the color screens because unlike the PET, it didn't have a built-in monitor.
Yeah, artifact color. Both modes can be optionally have 4-line blah blah blah. Yeah, so it came out with
how
artifact
many colors?
Color. It says whatever artifact color is.
I think it has like 4 colors or something.
4 colors. Okay. Well, that shows how the VIC was better than that then because it had 16 colors at the time. You also had the 16K Super VIC. And then Commodore Business Machines introduced the Commodore Max machine. The Commodore Max was sold in Japan as sort of a low-cost gaming version of the VIC-20. It was sold as a Super Max in the US, but because of poor sales, it was killed pretty quickly.
I guess by 1982, Japan already had MSX.
Right.
It says the Apple II video output is really a monochrome display, but then they put color burst on it, which made it into whatever this color is.
Okay.
It could do these 16 colors.
Yeah, like the way the Apple II color worked is a massive hack because basically they output black and white graphics, but at too high pixel density, so that it just blurred into color on a NTSC display.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
it's called color burst signal, whatever the hell that is.
Okay.
It was one of those WAS crazy.
WAS.
Well, I could take the VIC-20, plug it into my home TV, and I got 16 colors right off the bat. I didn't have to do any hacking stuff. Later on, Commodore announces the 64 with a 6510 processor, 64K of RAM, 20 kilobyte ROM, and Microsoft Basic.
Oh, so the 64 is 64 kilobytes of RAM.
Yes, that's why.
Not like
why
Nintendo 64, which is a 64-bit CPU.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. And it was max 64. Right? It didn't come with it. Like you could choose.
It was 64 kilobytes, but you can get RAM expanders that would plug into the game port and expand the RAM.
Okay.
But it was kind of a funky way to use it if you wanted to use it for programs. It also used cartridges for games, so it had the same thing where you could have cartridges with more RAM on the game.
Were these cartridges tape, or were they just like cartridges?
No, these are like the
chips?
Atari cartridges.
Okay.
They were actual circuit boards, like what they used for the Nintendos.
Okay.
So in 1983, they introduced it originally for $595, but in 1983 they dropped it to $200.
My birth year.
And then it became the best-selling computer of all time. Now, depending on which numbers you look at, it's anywhere between 12.5 million units sold worldwide up to 17 million units sold worldwide. There's discrepancies and conflicts in how accurate the numbers are, but that range is not matched by any other personal computer in history, including any of the Apple computers. Which is now it's the numbers going up because they brought this out again.
They brought it back.
So yeah, it's between 17 and 22 million units. One of the things that really made the Commodore 64 super impressive was its sound capability.
We were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, this is the SID chip that was in the Commodore 64, the sound integer device. And it was able to create three unique voices plus a fourth channel noise generator. and you could control the voices and create these beautiful harmonic sounds coming out of 64. And if you're really handy, I was told this in the past, if you're really handy with a soldering iron, you could get a second SID chip, solder it on top of the original SID chip, and come up with 6-channel stereo. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but I always wanted to do it. I never did. So, but this is going to really blow your mind when I tell you what it can do. After the 64, they introduced the B128, which was the 128 kilobyte RAM. They also released the P128, and then they released the BX256. They released what was after that? I think by the end of the year, 1982, they shipped over 700,000 VIC-20s. And at the time, Apple Computer only shipped 600,000 Apple IIs. Timex shipped 600,000 Timex Sinclair 1000s. And Texas Instruments shipped only about 575,000 TI-99s. So Commodore was clearly in the lead at that time. And by January, they hit 1 million units of VIC-20s. Then they introduced the SX64 in January of 1983. This is a portable, or what they call a luggable version of the Commodore 64.
Luggable.
With a small 4 or 5 inch CRT screen built in.
Portable computers with CRTs. It's just.
It was a suitcase. It was literally a suitcase.
I think like the design for all these, like there was a bunch of these, like the PC, the Compaq was like the first PC maker they broke out by making the first portable PC and stuff like that. Like I think the design goal was it had to fit under an airplane seat.
Yeah, and
that was the space they had to fit. And as long as it fit under the airplane seat, it can weigh 25 pounds. It can do whatever. It doesn't need a battery.
You're taking me back to LAN parties in the late 90s where we had to lug our CRTs to these parties.
and desktop or tower.
My tower literally had handles on the top of it so you could take it to LAN parties.
Yeah, I never really got a chance to do a LAN party except for one time, and it was a nightmare.
No, it was those were the days.
Everybody forgets cables, and it's just like, God, people just
those
throw
were
it
the
all
days. 10 base T LAN parties. Anyway.
So to kind of go back to the SX64, the weight was 10.5 kilograms, had a 5-inch color monitor.
That's not that heavy. And
1 or 2 5.25-inch floppy drives, and it was $1,600 at the time. Yeah, I mean, it's not heavy compared to like the Compaq one. I seen the Compaq one; that was bigger. But there were problems in Commodore, and by 1984, the Consumer Electronics Show in January of 1984, they introduced the TED line of computers, which was an acronym for Trammell Editing Device. And within a few months, Trammell quit Commodore and then bought Atari.
Okay.
A few years later, I believe Trammell passed away.
Okay.
But by spring 1984, they stopped making the VIC-20, but they continued making the Commodore 64 until I believe 1984. In some of the manufacturing locations, they stopped it in the United States, but I think they were still making them in England and Germany.
Wow.
What is up with England? Like they make the Raspberry Pi, right? Like what's going on with England? Like, who knew that they still made chips?
Hey, more power to them. Right?
I thought the only countries that are making chips there's like Taiwan and Korea.
Well, they're doing some good stuff there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they started manufacturing Amiga computers in 1985.
Okay.
And by 1987, they had actually caught up on their loans and were posting $22 million earnings. But then the bottom fell out.
Oh wait, I was just reading in an article that what's his name? The guy that you were talking about at the beginning is like blamed for the video game crash.
Trammell,
yeah.
I don't know if it was really his fault. I'd have to go back and take a look. But I think for Commodore, I'm not gonna defend him either way. For Commodore though, they had in the pipeline, they had a computer called the C65, which was supposed to be the successor to the C64.
Okay.
And they killed it because they were afraid that it was going to compete too well against their own Amigas.
That's dumb.
And then personal computer market started dropping. They actually had 54% loss in consecutive quarters in 1987 or 88. And then Commodore was broken up a few years later.
That was a really difficult transition period for the industry in general, because Apple had the same problem. Like, they released the Macintosh, and it was like the first 3 years, it was just like it was not selling enough. Apple II was like the Apple II was selling like 10 times the Mac, and it was like Apple II that was like funding Apple. But Apple's like, the Mac is the future. Like, the Apple II is such a dead end, like technology wise. It's an 8-bit computer and everything. So they were like, we want to kill the Apple II, but it's what people are buying, and it's what's paying for the Macintosh development.
I saw in a documentary somewhere where like the people who were like actually building the Apple II were angry at the Macintosh people because they're like, you guys are using our money to make your stupid little project.
Yeah, there was a lot of rivalry between the divisions in Apple at the time. They even tried to build an Apple III to replace the Apple II.
Where was the Lisa in this?
It was the Lisa was before the Mac.
Before the Mac, after the 2, right?
This is after the 2, and it was Steve Jobs' design project, which, because he was going out of control with all of his like nitpicky little demands and driving the development team insane, they were able to petition the board to kick him off the team, and that's how he got pushed over to the Mac team and took over from Jeff Raskin, and then was able to, I don't know how you say, shepherd the team to design the Macintosh.
And then got fired by the Pepsi guy.
Actually, he didn't get fired. He quit.
Whatever. He got ousted.
It was basically, he tried to how you say, do a coup in the boardroom against the Pepsi guy,
Scully,
and so John Scully, and then wound up resigning from Apple to form Next Computing.
Yeah, and then he bought Pixar, or invested in Pixar or whatever. Yeah,
he bought the Pixar animation division from Lucasfilm and developed it into the Pixar Animation Studios.
By the way, Creativity
although
Inc.,
first they first started, they were going to make the Pixar computer. There was going to be a computer company.
Right.
They were going to like sell it. It was a Cube, of course, because it was a Jobs computer.
Jobs computer. Yep.
And then they were like, nobody wants to buy our Cube.
Wait, isn't the Next Computer the Unix was like the base of Mac OS 9? 10?
OS 10.
Right? I mean,
it was the forerunner to the OS 10. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It still
when you
looks,
program Mac OS 10 apps, like even it's not 10 Mac OS apps these days, like the APIs start with NS still. Like all of like the different like
For the
button views and text views, they start with NS text view, NS text label and stuff like that.
Because it's Jobs, his ghost.
No, those threads are everywhere in the computer industry.
Where are we going to get to the unboxing of this toy?
We keep getting sidetracked.
Let's do a little bit more of the history here, because we know that Commodore breaks up in 1997-ish, 1998.
Okay.
Different companies buy the IPs. They're building their own computers using the Commodore name, Commodore brand, but they suck. They're terrible machines. They're the worst of the low-cost Temu version of computers at the time. And so different companies wind up reacquiring some of these IPs, and in walks our hero, the Perry Fractic of YouTube. From a couple of years ago, he winds up getting in contact with one of the companies that has acquired like 40 some of these IP things, and offers to them to license the IP for a fan-financed rebirth of the Commodore 64.
Okay.
And the company says, hey, how about you just buy it from us? We'll sell all of the IP to you. And they decide to purchase the IP, and they formed the brand new Commodore International. And their very first project was to take the Ultimate 64 board that was designed by a fan of the Commodore 64, using FPGA recreation of the original hardware, license that board, design a new case for it, which is basically the old case, and market the Commodore 64 Ultimate. And they offer it in 3 versions: the original beige, a Starlight Edition, which is translucent with LEDs that actually react to the SID, Alta-SIDs that are inside, and a gold-colored Founders Edition, which depending on the way you look at it, it's either gold color or P color. I don't know. The keys look amazing though. But you also got some special perks by funding the Founders Edition. And now they have just announced the Commodore 64C Ultimate, which is the form factor where it was a thinner case. And it's the same things, the original cream beige, a Starlight Edition, and a Founders Edition version. And those are now taking pre-orders.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. Yeah, the gold keys are kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Those took, I think, the longest for them to work out to make them look right.
The Founders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Founders Edition. Now, these are not cheap.
They're not cheap.
These are not cheap.
They were on like a discount sale at the beginning.
They're on sale
which is
right
when
now.
I bought mine.
A little bit.
Yeah, they have like a $50 off deal
What's
right
the
now or
cheapest version?
something like
The
that.
cheapest-
beige
basic
is
beige.
the basic beige is the cheapest.
Is I don't know dollars, but it's Goma yen. So what is this in dollars? How do I get this in dollars?
Are you looking at the 64C or the 64 Ultimate?
I'm looking at the 64 Ultimate. It's the same price as the 64C if they're both in beige, basic beige. But it's in Japanese yen. Can I? Oh, here we go. U.S. dollars. $299.99.
That's about the same price as it was when it was originally sold, although inflation variation
With the Founders Edition for the 64 Ultimate being almost $500.
Yep. Oh, they got new T-shirts now. All right, so now we have covered the history a bit. We talked about the new company. Would you like to see it?
Yes, I would. Let's see the toy.
So this is how they shipped them out.
Is that what they shipped out in the 80s?
No, actually, this style of box is not the same style of box as what was sold in the United States. This is more like the long box they used in the European version.
Okay.
So the package design is more like the American style, but in the shape or size of the European one. So
Now you ordered this from the United States and it came to Japan. How long did it take to ship out here?
actually, it came from China.
And
then
well, I
went
mean, so
to-
did my MacBook Pro.
It went to Australia, then came back to China, then went to Japan.
Okay.
So it took a very weird route to get to me, but
It's almost
it
made
got to me.
anywhere.
That's a lot of people were really worried because they weren't getting their computers right away, and so they were naturally freaking out. But
Oh, that's cool. It's got a box in a box.
this is the actual
Oh, that's sweet.
design box, and it's got everything that's in this printed on this box. Actually, is an homage to the original packaging. So you could see the original monitor, color monitor, the dataset drive. You've got the 1541 disk drive. You've got the original photos.
The
You got
models that people are so
You got the
80s.
super 80s people.
Because those are the original photos. Those pictures, these are the original pictures from the original box.
I love this so much.
And this design is all based on the original box. They wanted everybody to feel that sense of nostalgia when they got this out of the main package, the shipping package.
Now I'm looking at a number here. I don't think the original Commodore had 128 megabytes of memory.
Okay, well, that's true. It did not. But again, remember we're talking about a modern FPGA
Yeah.
board design on a whole new architecture, but designed to give you cycle-specific reproduction of the original Commodore. And then you have options because of this FPGA to increase RAM in the system.
Or
You can
decrease, right?
Turbo boost it. You can speed up the processing power. And believe me, just a 4 times speed increase is really fast for a Commodore. But you can go as much as 16 times speed. So again, they show the picture on this side here of the 3 different models. So you've got from left is the Founders Edition, then there's the Starlight, and then of course I'm going backwards. The beige.
And you got the beige.
I got the beige.
You got the classic beige.
Manufacturer, Moss Technology Incorporated.
Yep. And Dover, Kent.
Can I look at the inputs here? We've got control ports, power switch, power connector, cartridge slot, audio out, analog audio video out, serial port, cassette interface. You're gonna have to explain that in a second. HDMI, Ethernet, and USB. What is a cassette interface?
So the Commodore 64 had, if you can see it, it's upside down here. There was the dataset drive.
Okay.
So my Commodore VIC-20, we bought a dataset drive with it, which was just a cassette tape recorder that plugged into a data port in the back that provided the power and the communication channels.
You say cassette tape. We're talking like audio cassette
Audio
tape.
cassette tapes.
Okay.
And so if I wanted to save a program, I'd have to put a blank cassette tape in there, make sure that the leader was moved past where the head was going to be, close the drawer, tell it to save, and then hit the save record button buttons on the data set, and it would record an audio signal on the tape.
But it was data.
Yeah.
It was data. It was a digital,
you have to
digital audio
You think of it
signal.
as like, instead
tape
of
drive.
like your modem,
Yeah.
instead of dialing someone up, you just plug it into a cassette and record the squeals and
Interesting.
then play them back.
So
Interesting.
other home PCs, you had to buy a cassette recorder, off the shelf brand, and get cables for the microphone in and the speaker out, and plug them into microphone in, speaker out on your PC, and then hope that it worked. But this was
And
actually
tweak the
made by
volume.
Commodore to work directly through the system, and actually was much more efficient, I think, in that regard. But still, it was slow as molasses. I mean, if you had 12 programs on a cassette and you needed to get to program 8, and you didn't know where the counter was for that, you'd have to rewind all the way to the beginning, tell it to load the program name, hit play, and then go get something to drink and watch a TV show, because it would just play through every program on the tape until it found the program you were looking for, and then started to load.
What was the baud rate?
I don't know. You could find the specs on it, I
Probably
think,
like
but
300 or something.
it was, at the time, it was the cheapest data storage option because the disk drives were very expensive. So the 1541 drive was literally a Commodore computer in and of itself. It had its own CPU board to control how it interfaced with your Commodore computer. It also was one of the reasons why it was one of the slowest disk drives on the market. Later on, they released the 1541-2 and then the 1581, which was much faster. It was a 3.5-inch disk drive. And then there was
the fact that like the disk drive had its own CPU, like enabled lots of fun hacks. Like you could daisy chain 2 floppy drives, and then on the C supposed to copy this disk to the other one and just unplug the computer, and
it
they
would
would just
continue
keep going
copying,
because
yeah.
like they were computers of themselves.
it already had its instructions, and it was executing those instructions. It didn't need the PC anymore.
No.
All right, Mike. I think that we've gone for an entire show on the history. So I think we should do a separate episode of the unboxing of it. So please wait. Mike.
I want to see it.
Let's do the unboxing on the next episode because I think we've already gone over an hour.
I've got to take this back home and back here again.
No.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, let's
Don't ruin
cut
the
here
image.
and
We'll see you in part 2.
Yeah, we'll see you in part 2. All right, guys. This has been Nerdgas Podcast, where we nerd out and be geeks. In our little studio here. If you guys like this episode, please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Do you have a Commodore 64 Ultimate? What color do you have it in? Are you planning on getting one? Did you have an Apple II? Was it actually in color?
And one more question: how many of these have you gotten? Because I know a lot of people on the owners group and Facebook
Are collecting them.
They're collecting them. They've
Gotta get
bought
one of each,
2
right?
or 3.
This again. This would have to see the real
founders,
the founders, the gold one, because the ink recreation of the color does not look great, but maybe it looks good.
You can
in
see the
person.
unboxings and then the people using these on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna unbox this in the next episode. We'll see you guys there. Bye, everybody.